You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the columnist Carole Malone and the Independent's chief political commentator John Rentoul. They'll be with us right through until midnight. Let's hope they're still smiling by then. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Tech giants like Google, Netflix and Facebook have said that staff will need to be fully vaccinated before returning to the office. That's according to the Metro. An approach which Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab appeared to welcome earlier today, says the Daily Mail. The Telegraph has seen data which suggests 1 in 4 patients listed as COVID admissions are actually being treated for other conditions. The Mirror reports the UK's vaccine rollout has saved around 60,000 lives and prevented 22 million positive cases. The Express reports the EU is about to start a travel war by restricting the movement of fully vaccinated travellers from the UK in response to post-Brexit trade discussions, which the Times describes as a diplomatic backlash for the UK over excessive quarantine for French travellers. An all-party committee of MPs has found the police and the government have done little to get rid of radical injustice within the force. That's in The Guardian. The Financial Times reports that the Conservative Party has received £18 million in donations from the property sector since Boris Johnson became Prime Minister, accounting for a quarter of all gifts received. The Sun reports on anger from fans of TV personality Katie Price, who were allegedly conned out of thousands of pounds by someone she promoted on her social media account. And we are joined, as I was saying tonight, by Carole Malone and John Rentoul. Welcome to you both. Let's kick off with the Mirror and their headline there, jabs save 60,000 lives. This is the positive information that we've been receiving over several weeks, actually, that the vaccinations are doing their job, Carole.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds really good. And we're told that I think it's 52,000 hospital admissions have been averted as well. But it's interesting because I just was reading some analysis on this figure today, not to put a dampener on this, but the analysis said that the figure was a bit of an exaggeration because the model that was used asks what would happen in a world with no vaccination and no lockdown. And the modelers behind the figure looked at the number of infections we've seen since the start of the year and then asked how many of those infected people would have died if the death rates from 2020 still applied. So we don't actually know if this figure is true. It sounds great, and I hope it's true. We certainly know that the infections are dropping now in all age groups. We know that, I mean, there was one Dr. David Matthews today, a virologist. He said that barring something spectacular happening in the next couple of months, he said the pandemic's all but over. I don't know if we can quite believe that yet. And Professor Jonathan Van Tam, our Deputy Chief Medical Officer, has said that is not the case. But certainly, hospital admissions, they're not going down. They've gone up a bit, but they're not terrible. And the deaths have kind of got they're kind of stable-ish. So, you know, it's not looking too terrible.
John, do you think that's reckless talk to say that the pandemic's all but over? I mean, these look to be positive, but that's quite extreme to say that the pandemic, we're out of it.
Well, no, I do think it's important to be clear that the worst is probably over. And I think it's worth celebrating that. I mean, obviously, you can understand why Jonathan Van Tam and leading politicians don't want to be too triumphalist in public because things may still be difficult over the winter. But I think it is essentially past us, and I certainly hope so.
And it seems to be that what the scientists are saying is that we're close to a form of herd immunity, although that's probably a banned term now. But that seems to be the stage to which we have now arrived, Carole.
Well, the marker for that sits at somewhere around 93%. And if we're close to that, I mean, that's fantastic. It's dipping in every age group, in the young, and the middle-aged, and the elderly. And interestingly, in the 20s, it's dipping the fastest. So this is all contributing to herd immunity. And remember, the scientists told us not too long ago that we'll be having 100,000 infections a day by now, possibly 200,000. So this is great news.
Let's move on to the Mail, and they're looking at the link between employment and actually being double jabbed. Many people fearful that this will be the future and we'll have a two-tier society. John?
Yeah, no, this is very controversial. And it's the same story that is in the Metro that you read out earlier, which actually names some of the companies involved, saying Google in the UK is going to require evidence of double vaccination for people before they're allowed back into the office. That is going to be controversial. I'm not sure I want to have a passport on my phone. I'm quite happy with my little cardboard thingy, which I keep in my actual passport, which is all I want to do. I don't want a state identity card on my smartphone. Thank you.
Carole, what say you?
I have to say, I'm a little bit more relaxed about that. I get why companies are demanding that their staff be vaccinated. Companies have been, almost out of business for the last 16 months. Times have been tough, and they've struggled to stay afloat, and some of them haven't stayed afloat. So you can see why, when staff come back to work, they want to make sure that they're working in safe conditions. And I would have thought the staff going into the office every day, or wherever their job is, you would have thought they would have wanted to be safe too. This stuff about the government are talking about, where it's like it's a passport by stealth, where it's put on your NHS app. I mean, I'm not too worried about that, as long as these things are all temporary, as long as they're just for a period. And the fact of the matter is, I don't want to be mixing with loads of people who haven't been jabbed. It is their right not to be jabbed, but it's my right not to want to be infected by them.
John, do you think that, Carole's raised the point that she's happy if these measures are temporary. Isn't that the issue, that many people are worried that it's by stealth and it's a creeping nature of government imposing on people, and this could just be the start of things to come?
Yeah, I just don't think it's necessary. If it is needed temporarily, then it's probably not needed at all, because if, as Carole says, we're approaching herd immunity and the rate of infections is declining, then I just don't see. I think this is a solution to a problem which doesn't exist, or at least I hope that is going to be the case very soon. And so I just don't think there's a need for compulsory requirements to have a vaccine passport.
Carole, you want to come back?
It does. Yeah, there is a bit of a contradiction, John, isn't there? That, now the government are backtracking on saying you have to be vaccinated for, hundreds of young people going into a nightclub, which I think is the very place you should be vaccinated for. And yet, people are going to have to be vaccinated to go to work. I'd far rather, it seems odd to me that you're going to be vaccinated to go to work, but you can still go to a club and you can still go to an event and you can still be face-to-face in a kind of Petri dish atmosphere with hundreds and thousands of people, where you will very probably catch it.
Yeah, no, it does seem that there needs to be some sort of uniformity in what's required. Let's have a quick look at the Daily Telegraph and this story pointing to the fact that hospital COVID cases, that the numbers that we're getting are misleading, and that patients were actually admitted for other causes other than COVID. John?
Yeah, no, this is something that the anti-lockdowners have been banging on about for some time. It is obviously the case that there are some people in hospital who are being treated for other things, who have either caught coronavirus in hospital or have tested positive since they arrived. But this is just making a simple arithmetical mistake, because the point is the numbers of people in hospital with coronavirus go up and down, and most of them are there because of coronavirus. And so, although the number may not be accurate, it's the trend that matters, and the trend is looking quite hopeful at the moment. It's looking as if it's levelling off and maybe heading downwards soon.
Very quickly, Carole, is this then nothing to worry about?
No, I kind of disagree, because 1 in 4 patients are in hospital and they weren't admitted with COVID. And I think what it means is, I think that the bigger point is that restrictions on our freedoms have been based on inflated statistics. So what the government did 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago, the fact that they're not lifting the restrictions now until August, that's based on flawed statistics. There was this survey that they did, this thing, of 5,021 clusters hospitalised by COVID, 1,166 were in hospital being treated for other reasons. And so the government is making policy on flawed data.
Carole and John, stay right where you are. We are going to take a break. Coming up, the X Factor axed, but will we miss the show? Many considered exploitative. We'll discuss that next. Do stay with us. You're watching the press preview. With me tonight, Carole Malone and John Rentoul. Just for this short section, let's start with Simone Biles, and this is the Metro, how they've covered the fact that the gymnast has withdrawn from the Olympics. Some people not very sympathetic, Carole.
I don't blame them for not being sympathetic. I mean, a lot of the Hollywood crowd are saying how brave and wonderful and fantastic she is. And, I mean, there's nothing brave or fantastic about quitting. I think she let...
Well, even if she thinks she might do herself physical harm, i.e., you know, not be able to perform...
physical harm she was worried about.
No, I know she's not worried about physical harm, but the mental anguish that she's going through affects her physical performance. And gymnastics means that she could seriously harm herself if she's not in the right frame of mind.
Don't go to the Olympics. So don't go to the Olympics then. If you have mental issues, don't put yourself in a team to represent your country at the Olympics. And mental issues don't happen overnight. So she must be suffering.
Oh dear. We've lost you there a bit, Carole. But let's bring John in on that.
I think Carole's being much too hard. I think this is a huge step forward for, to allow athletes or anybody in public life to say when things are too much for them, and to explain that they don't want to carry on doing something. I think that's entirely healthy and a good thing, and we ought to learn. And I hope the tennis authorities learn from that, because there was that tennis player who didn't want to do the post-match interview.
Yeah.
And I think we just should be a bit more understanding of the pressures these people are under, and I think it's entirely a good thing.
Carole, though, can I ask you one question? Do you seriously think she would? Do you seriously think she would go all the way to Tokyo and not perform if she wasn't under some serious pressure?
Do you seriously think that her mental issues occurred just as she got to Tokyo?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Because I don't believe that they did. Well, I don't believe that. What I'm saying is, I think if she has mental issues, they were probably there before. One of the quotes she said, which really surprised me, she said, I feel like I'm not having much fun. You're not at the Olympics to have fun. You're at the Olympics. It's the ultimate test of an athlete. You're there to represent your country and to support your team. And she pulled out of her team and lost, and Russia won the medal, which she wouldn't have won if she'd been in it.
Has there been any point in your life where you felt that you couldn't cope and you had to withdraw from whatever it was? Well, that's what's happened to her. Why are you so unsympathetic?
I had a problem. I'm not. Why are you saying I'm unsympathetic? That's for my opinion. I'm giving it to you. Do you want me just to agree with what everyone else says?
No, I'm just wondering why you're so unsympathetic. As John said, it's not my opinion. I'm just wondering where that sort of comes from.
Well, it seems like it is, frankly, Gillian, it seems like it is your opinion. I'm not being unsympathetic. I'm telling you what I think. And I think an athlete who goes to Tokyo to partake in the Games, if before she went to the Games, she wasn't feeling well enough to be there, she shouldn't have gone there. And I bet you asked a lot of the teammates and a lot of the other athletes, they will say they're all under the same pressure that she is. It's a high pressure business.
John?
No, I just don't agree. I mean, I think anybody can suffer from moments of stage fright or sudden, it can just come on you suddenly. And I think if you are just open about it and honest about it and say what's happening and that you can't carry on, then I think that's better and more healthy than people feeling that they have to maintain some kind of public front.
Do you guys know anything about this girl? Have you ever listened to her in the past, the way she talks, her levels of confidence? She's one of the most confident athletes I've ever come across in my life.
To the public, we're going to have to leave it there because we've run out of time, Carole.